Afternoon, everyone. Good evening, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Dara,
I'm Donna.
and we are so happy that you are joining us. This is a somewhat of a different Zoom than we usually do. Most of our Zooms are usually on learning the game, improving your strategy, seeing beautiful sets. And through some of our prior panel guests, we were inspired to have what Mahjong means.
You took over the screen when you stopped the screen sharing, so I can't let anybody in. So
Oh,
you took
okay.
over.
So that's so weird.
Yeah, when you
Okay.
stop sharing your screen, that happens. So
That's so strange. Okay, I will keep admitting
okay,
everybody. So,
sounds good.
welcome again. Part two. So, Dara and Donna, and we're so happy you are here. Today, our focus is on how Mahjong is more than a game. And all of us who play can probably relate to that statement. Donna and I started playing years ago together, and we started our business in 2019. And since then, we call them like pinch me moments of things that we just look at each other and say, like, can you believe that this happened because of Mahjong? So, Donna, you want to share any
No,
of those?
I mean, the people that we have met, including all of you, has just been incredible and a wonderful experience.
People that we looked up to and went to have them speak, and now they're joining us for our panels. Has been great. We got to go to New York and give Sarah Jessica Parker a pair of our dice. We got to do different tournaments that were really exciting and raise funds. I mean, if you saw the video that we just shared, we raised $60,000 just this year alone for a total of 110,000 so far for Alzheimer's. If the chat, we will monitor the chat. If that's blocking, you could slide that over. At the end, we'll save time for some questions. And we are going to, so I'm trying to think, because it shows that you're host, Donna. I'm just trying to see.
Yeah, I mean, so far
Okay.
in.
Okay. So I am going to, our panel, we thank our panel for being here today. We have Theresa Bounassi, Dr. Sarah Gundle, Gregg Swain, Dana Carter-Lang, and Toby Salk, and we are so happy that they are here to share their impact, the impact of Mahjong on their life. And so I have to get to downloads. So Theresa, I'll put the screen up while you're talking if you want to introduce yourself and start.
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Theresa Bounassi. I moved to Alaska a little over a year ago from Florida, and I've been a Mahjong player for about 18 years now. And the last 9 were as teacher, collector, tournament director, vintage restorer. I'm going to put my timer on because I know we're limited to about an hour and I don't want to take up too much, take up more than time I'm supposed to talk. So I'm going to put it on 10 minutes. And after that, you can just,
thank you. Get the hook.
Get the hook. So thank you for having me. I love talking about Mahjong. It is, those people that says I'm an introvert, but I'm willing to talk about. I'm not an introvert, but I'm always willing to talk about Mahjong. It's something I'm just absolutely passionate about. And I guess the biggest thing is the impact it's had on my life in terms of learning and friendships and experiences. You get to meet so many people that you would not normally when you dive in the deep end of the Mahjong universe. There is a huge community that is all around the world. I've met people not only throughout our country and have visited people in California and New York and been welcome in their homes and played Mahjong and experienced a totally different side of life. But I've also met people in Amsterdam. I got to meet Elodie, who was Carly's huge collector who passed away. I got to meet his wife and see the remainder of his collection and learn about him. So it's those personal touches that, create memories that you'll have the rest of your life. It's those things. Yes, you might remember winning the big hand or, having a fun experience at a tournament or a convention, but, it's those personal interactions that those memories are what warms your heart when you're having a hard time. And the friendships that you've created for me, have helped me during hard times. And then you in turn help other people during hard times. There was a friend of mine in Vero Beach that fought cancer for many, many years, and she was always very frail. But when she would go over to a mutual friend's house and they played Siamese, or I'd go over and we'd play Mahjong, she would completely forget that she was in treatment. She'd completely forget she was in pain. And she'd say, oh, I might only be able to play a game. I don't know if I could last very long. And then 2 or 3 hours would pass by and she'd be like, oh, that was fast. You know, it just completely took her mind off, you know, that dread, you know. So it's those things that you realize that Mahjong unites people and gives them an outlet, not only for joy, but for comfort. And then the other things that I've loved is meeting all these people that are just so knowledgeable in other areas of Mahjong and share their joy and their love and their knowledge. It's been unbelievable how kind. You can reach out to anyone and say, hey, you know, do you think about this tile, or do you know the history of this flower set? And Gregg will respond and she'll be like, oh, I saw this, or I think this is, you know, from Hong Kong, or you know, there's so many people out there like Tony Watson and Dee Gallo and Johnny Levine and Kat Hartman. They're just so kind in terms of sharing their knowledge. And I just absolutely love meeting them and getting to know, you know, what brought them to Mahjong and how they play, and also all the table rules that aren't National Mahjong League rules, but to play those once in a while, it's fun. So, you know, not only is there joy and excitement when you play Mahjong, but you also have this sense of this thread that just kind of sews us all together in this huge quilt that's, you know, a little different, a little wacky, you know, but we all come to the table and we get along and we're respectful for each other. So for me, its impact on my life and creating this level of consistency when things aren't going great in other areas of your life, the friendships and bonds. It's just been very special. And then also to learn, you know, how to restore a set, how to complete a set, you know, the history and all the artistry that goes along with it. There's just so many things. And, you know, I have pictures that they're showing now of me at a convention, me traveling, you know, people that have hosted me in their homes, which is lovely. That's Elodie there, stop with me in the black vest and red. You know, then there's stop right there with the TV in the background.
Oh, yeah.
I started teaching, I was asked to teach an adult education class here. So the 3 pictures, the bottom and on the right-hand side are all here in Anchorage. And so I taught 16 people Mahjong. I had to modify, that was the other thing, I had to learn how to modify my lesson plan to adapt to what they gave me. They gave me 4 lessons, an hour and 15 minutes each, which is, so I had to continue to learn and change how I do things. Like just like with getting a new card with Mahjong, you're always having to learn something new and change up how you do things. So that was my challenge, and I taught 16 people, and we continue to play weekly at this adult living facility. And the person you see in the front in the white, she is 95-year-old Edna, and she plays Mahjong. And she hadn't played in many years. That was before Jokers. She stopped playing before they introduced Jokers, and they had like 20 flowers that were wild. So she had to modify how she knew how to play Mahjong, and she plays with us weekly. And she's awesome. She's absolutely hilarious, and I love seeing her. And then I taught a bunch of people in my neighborhood, because when the snow is a foot deep and you don't want to drive, people will walk to your house to play Mahjong. So that's very nice to have now about a group of 10 in my neighborhood that know how to play. And I'm teaching 2 more now. So it should be a good winter for me, being able to play pretty much whenever we get snowed in. So I think that's about it. You know, I love meeting people. It's made a huge impact on my life, and I love the game, and I love the people that I've met. The kindness that has been shown to me is extraordinary, and I continue to want to pay it forward as people have paid it forward to me. I think that's about it, and I am under.
You are under. So I have to share a funny story with Theresa. So before we met Theresa in person, she had messaged us because Donna and I were having fun on social media, and we did a cute little video rolling our dice. And at the time, Boomerang was popular, and you would see something and it would repeat back and forth. So Theresa looked at it. She goes, "Do your dice always land on 3?" Like, who is this woman from Vero Beach thinking that we have dice that always land on 3? No. But it turned out that one chance little conversation turned into, I forgot what con your kids were going to. But
my kids were going to Comic-Con in Miami Beach, and you guys drove down and we played 3-handed Mahjong, and you guys were I know I'm not supposed to say this, but you guys didn't play 13 tile.
Yeah.
And I brought down vintage sets because I know you like taking pictures with your dice with vintage sets. So I brought some rare sets.
And you didn't leave with all of them.
I didn't what?
You didn't leave with all of them. I bought one, so.
Oh yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, that's right. And yeah, and from there we see each other every chance we can, even with me in Alaska. Yeah.
And Theresa has stayed in my home, which was fun.
Yes.
And we hope to go to Alaska soon. So
yes.
So, thank you very much. We appreciate your brevity and your sharing your story. Thank you very much.
Happy to. Thank you for having me.
So next, and this was really one of the inspirations for this evening, is Dr. Sarah Gundle. It has a doctorate in clinical psychology and master's degree in international affairs. In addition to her private practice, she's an assistant professor at the Icahn School of Medicine, Mount Sinai Medical Center, and currently writing a book about breakups. So we invite you, Dr. Sarah, screen on, because I just see me and a few other people.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect.
So I started playing Mahjong about 9 years ago. It was, I think my then oldest was in kindergarten, and a group of moms said, who wants to play Mahjong? And I was like, I had always been curious. So I said yes. We hired a teacher, and the teacher worked with us for, we hired her for, I think it was months actually. But anyway, we started a Monday game, Monday morning. It was in the beginning a bigger group, and it sort of whittled down over time. And I was interested in it, and I thought it was fun. But I think when I really got committed to Mahjong was when I first started playing, I was pregnant. And then I gave birth and had terrible postpartum depression, which I had not had before. And I was really depressed, and I was really struggling. I couldn't do many things, but I dragged myself out to play Mahjong. And so every Monday I would go and play Mahjong, and it was sometimes like the only thing that got me out of the house and the only thing that got me kind of motivated. And it was like a way to kind of get my mind off what I was worried about in a really powerful way. I actually wrote, so I put it in the chat, I wrote an article for the Forward magazine about how postpartum depression was alleviated with Mahjong. And I really truly think that. I mean, I'm a therapist and I believe in therapy, but honestly, I'm not sure which one helped me more. It was a really like a touchstone at a time I needed a touchstone. And it was a way to like a true distraction at a time that I really needed a distraction. So then I was committed, and I've been playing with the same group of women for the last 9 years. You know, we're certainly not professional, but we play like very aggressively. Like it's hard for us to new people because we usually play like, 6 games maybe in 2 hours. So we just play a little bit quicker. I think as we've gotten better, we play quicker, but it's been, it's sort of been this wonderful thing. I've tried meditation, I've tried yoga, I've tried different things. And the only thing that I found that, usually I'm thinking about a million things. Like I'm a mom, I have 2 kids, I have 2 jobs, I'm like thinking about patients, I'm like thinking about a million things. Do I need toilet paper? And I don't like, I'm fine with that. Like I'm very good at multitasking. The only time in my life, literally the only time during my week that I am not, somebody's calling, that I'm not thinking about other things is the 2 hours I play Mahjong. I found that like nothing else has helped me as much as that. Meditation didn't work. I still had this sort of racing thoughts. And, I think like being poised between 5 different hands, I think the better I get, the more I can sort of be poised between hands. and take more risks, and I'm like constantly kind of scanning the board, and I find that like 2 hours goes by in a second. Sorry, something got weird with the screen.
Yeah, we can see you and everything.
Yeah.
But the time goes by so quickly, and I'm so focused on it, and I'm entirely like intensely focused on Mahjong, and it's such a relief. I mean, my life is complicated, and it's a lot of thinking, and so I just think about Mahjong, and it's such a like soothing thing. Like if I can start my week with Mahjong, I feel like I set myself up for a great week. And I've been playing with the same women for a long time. We're not, I wouldn't say, like, it's sort of an odd friendship, a very different sort of friendship. Like, I've been to my holiday party, but really we're Mahjong friends. Like, we're not chatty. We don't like chat very much because all of us are sort of like intensely, like, I think we all kind of approach it from a place of like, nowhere else am I cutthroat, but but in Mahjong I kind of play to win, and I like it that way because that's what Mahjong has been for me. Has been a time to kind of completely separate from my life, only think about hands. It's like the sort of function of meditation is that you kind of go somewhere else in your mind and you come back refreshed. And for me, more than anything else, I used to be a chess player, but that didn't do it either. It's been really, really restorative. And I think it's helped me be a better parent. I wrote another piece I put in the chat for Kveller about, I've written a bunch of pieces sort of for different kind of popular online magazine places about being a parent of a kid with autism. And so this Kveller piece I wrote that you guys found was about how learning, to take risks in Mahjong, how it kind of filtered into my life and helped me be more comfortable taking risks in my own life and having kind of a different idea about risk taking in parenting. And I think it's really true. Like everything I wrote, I really stand by that. That playing Mahjong every week, throwing myself in, taking a risk, helped me kind of understand how to take more risks in my parent duties with a child with special needs. And I think it's also, my group, we're all very local. So we all live within a few blocks of each other. We've been very devoted about Monday games, but when the news about Israel hit, one of them texted everyone and said, like, who wants to play a game? And it was such a like helpful thing to just, for me, Mahjong has become this sort of cleansing ritual of not actually connecting, but disconnecting from my life. And I found that to be very healing and wonderful, and helped me be a better parent. So yeah, that's.
No, thank you very much. It was
Yeah.
a great read. That's how we connected. Yeah.
No, but it's interesting that we've heard this similar story, and my story is kind of similar. But I was an attorney, I was a partner in a firm, 2 little kids, a dog, a husband, and my mother got sick and I had to quit being a lawyer. And that Tuesday when we played was my time to just really not be in a hospital or a doctor's office. And in the end, when she passed away, these were my friends that were at Shiva and were really there for me. And it's really an incredible thing. And as Dara and I talk about, would you say, I'm going to go to a friend's house for 3 hours and have coffee and talk? No, we don't take that time because we have other things to do. But if we're playing Mahjong, that is our time.
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. And I think it's interesting what you said about personality being competitive at the game. If in our Facebook group, if somebody uses the words, I want to find a friendly game, the hair on the back of everyone's neck stands up, because competitiveness, and there may be a lot of men on this, and I'm not saying anything against men, women, but it sometimes seems unladylike to be competitive. But the point is to win. So like somebody once said, once the knees go under the table, like you want to win, but you could still be friendly and follow the rules. That's, but I find that a lot of times you could tell so much about someone's personality by the way they play and by the way that what they bring to the table. So yeah, if anybody hasn't read, we have the screen up, and Dr. Gundle put it in the link. It's a wonderful article that she wrote. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And next up, I have to move this over so I could read. Next up, Dana, do you go by Dana Carter Lange or Dana Lange?
I go by Dana Lange mostly.
Okay, so she is a Mahjong teacher based in North Carolina, and she travels throughout the state. I mean, just reading about her days of classes makes me need to go. And I don't take naps, but makes me need to go sit down and rest. I mean, she packs in a lot of lessons in a day. So she teaches in the state and beyond.
Yes. Well, I feel like I first learned to play Mahjong from my grandmother, who was an Episcopalian in North Carolina, in Knoxville, Tennessee, when I was 5. So I learned Chinese Mahjong from her, and she was an avid game player. And as a 5-year-old, she would often beat me, and my lip would quiver, and she would go, "No crying." And so she made me a very good sport in playing games, and I developed a great love of games. And when I moved to Durham 30 years ago, I met some friends in my neighborhood, and they said, "We're going to learn to play Mahjong. Do you want to learn with us?" And I said, "Yes, I'd love to, but I work in London 3 weeks a month." And they're like, "Well, that's fine. We'll learn, and when you come back for the week you're home, you can play in that week." And that was a nightmare. And so it took me an entire year to really learn to play that way. And I had a headache every time, and I loved it, but I still was like, there's a better way to learn this game. And so 25 years ago, a local school asked me if I would teach it in an adult class for a fundraiser. And I said, "Sure, I can teach Mahjong." And they called me 20 minutes after registration opened and said, "Well, your class sold out, and we have this waiting list of like 100 people." I said, "Well, give me the list. I'll just call the people." And I started teaching, and I taught everyone in my city, and then I taught everyone in the next town over. And I was working full time, so I wasn't teaching that much. But then I kind of retired from a real career, and people started asking me to come to the beach or to the mountains or to the Bahamas or to Texas, and so it got to be an explosion. And about 7 years ago, I became a full-time teacher, and full-time means I teach usually 7 to 9 classes that are 3 hours each every week. Tomorrow I go to Pinehurst and teach. And it has been the greatest joy and the best retirement job anyone could ever have. I've taught over 25,000 people to play Mahjong. And I used to just teach beginner Mahjong. I mean, I was like, "You want to learn how to play the game? I'll teach you." And then people started saying, "Well, we want you to come back. We want more classes." And I'm like, "Okay, well, you know how to play now. You have to, you need to just play." And they were like, "No, we want more." So I ended up making a 4-course curriculum. And my favorite thing to do was to teach beyond beginner classes, because it's teaching people how to think. And that's so fun. And talking about, seeing the light go on for people, and them understanding strategy and developing the friendships with them. In fact, today at my house, one of my Mahjong students from Kinston, North Carolina, who's become a great friend, is getting cancer treatment at Duke, and she's getting towards the end of her radiation. And so she came to my house today, and we played Mahjong all afternoon. And she goes, "Oh, I can't wait to go home and tell my friends I got to play at your house." And I was like, it's not that big a deal, but it is the friendships you develop, and the love of the game. And it's kind of like, great Pied Piper, you're spreading joy. And I tell people, Sarah, it would be interesting if you could figure this out. When I'm teaching them, I can analyze their personalities by the way they play. And I always tell them in the beginning, like, organize your tiles, and I have to look and see how you've organized them so I can see how you think. And I always say, "I'm not going to tell you, but one of you is a serial killer." And I said, "I'll never tell who it is." But it's so fun, because people then start to see how their own personalities are expressed in in their playing. And I tell people, be yourself when you're learning, because if you are yourself, I can figure out how you're learning and what you need to, how I need to teach you. But if you pretend that you know something that you don't know, I can't help you. And so it's nice for adults to get that permission to, like, there's no grades. I'm like, you're not going to get kicked out of class. I said, if you get it wrong, no, I'm not saying a note home to your mother. And if you get it wrong, it's not more fattening. So, you know, just be yourself. And it's great that people feel like, oh, I can learn this and I don't have to pretend that I know things that I don't know. And, you know, teaching adults, that's not always the case. Adults aren't always good at being like, I don't understand this. And in Mahjong, you give them that permission, and it's fun.
No, that's great. And I love seeing, you know, pictures of the many classes you teach with grandparents and grandkids and just all the different. And what's amazing is you were saying about your second, you know, your advanced beginner class, or how people really just, it almost feels like a competition to host you. Like the spread that they put out and the welcoming committee that they, you know, roll out the red carpet when you come in town.
It's unbelievable. I mean, you know, at first when I would go to a town, I would just go to a hotel, and I usually would teach a morning class and an afternoon class, or an afternoon class and an evening class every day. And people were like, we don't want you to stay at a hotel, come to my house. And I was like, well, that's nice. And then they're like, I'm having a dinner party for you. And I'm like, oh, you know, and now they're like, can you come on vacation and teach, you know, my family on this vacation? And you know, you become members of these people's families. And I mean, they're so incredibly generous. And it's because I've shared the love of the game with them, and now they love it, and they've created communities in their towns. And you know, people, it's like, I get to a town, I start with 16 or 32 people in 2 classes, and then it's like, people are like, when are you coming back? We, you know, we have 154 people on the waiting list. I'm like, oh, that's
Wow.
But it's nothing but fun. I
That's
wish
awesome.
everyone could have a job that just brought people joy.
I was gonna say, what would you be doing in your retirement if you weren't teaching?
Well, it's funny because I was on a number of boards as my daughter was graduating from high school and going off to college, and she and my husband came to me and said, you're rolling off 2 boards this year, and we're worried about what you're going to do. I'm like, I don't know why you're worried. What I'm going to do will happen. It will happen. And then they're like, okay, well, we didn't think you needed to be this busy, but
That's great.
it's a big wave. Have you all found that the Mahjong wave is bigger than ever?
I think if you type the word Mahjong and resurgence in a search, every 2 years, it's in every article. And it just keeps, and now, and Donna's going to laugh because I'm going to mention Canasta too, but it just seems like gameplay, especially post-pandemic, people, as I hold up my phone, which is always near all of us, people want to connect. They want to be able to, as Dr. Gundle said, just tune out and focus on what's in front of them. And what else gives you that but a game where you're sitting inches away from people and connecting? So that's why I think that Mahjong really has hit home.
I also play duplicate bridge, which I think duplicate has made bridge mean. And young people are not interested in that competitiveness of duplicate. And so I think it's hurt bridge. And I think Mahjong has taken that place. I teach a lot of young people. It's so funny. I'm always telling people, I'm like, I want you to play by standard rules, because there's a rule for everything in Mahjong. And if you have a disagreement or someone does something wrong, there's already a rule for it. And then it's not an argument. It's not personal if someone does something wrong. It's just they didn't know what the rule was. But like you were talking about people, or I guess Theresa was talking about the fun ways of the table rules or things that people do to changed Mahjong. My young people in Raleigh, for instance, I probably have like 600 or 700 people in their 30s playing there, and they've made merchandise that says "Don't tell Dana," because that means they have a table rule that I would look down upon. I say, "You're playing Mahjong Junior," and I'm like, "It's all right if you do," but then they drink out of cups that say "Don't tell Dana."
That's great.
I also think the
Well,
spread,
thank you.
I mean, social media has brought Mahjong into the limelight also, which is incredible. And also during COVID, we found a lot of women taught their husbands because it was only the two of them. So they play Siamese Mahjong. So a lot more men are playing, and it's like cool for men to play now. So the whole game has changed.
Well, I found it's funny, once in a while I have people that come to my class and they say to me, I've watched Crazy Rich Asians. I know how to play this game. And I'm always like, "So what did you learn in that 20 seconds that they played Mahjong?"
And actually, it's really interesting. There's a Vox article that dissects the plot of the movie and the steps of their version of the game that they were playing. And if you play, I don't play that style, but if you do, it really paralleled the whole movie. But whenever people see Don and I out, if we're taking pictures, or if we're playing Siamese at lunch or whatever, people always say, "Oh, I know that game. It's Crazy Rich Asians," which I guess 20 years ago or whenever it was, it would have been, now I'm going to have a
Joy Luck Club.
Joy Luck Club. Thank you.
Mhm.
So it, like I said, there's always some type of resurgence that I feel brings it back. So.
But we hear a lot more Mahjong in TV shows and movies, and we love to look at how it's set up, and we're like, well, that's wrong, and it should be going this way, and it's not that,
Oh yeah,
not enough tiles, and
The best line ever.
Driving Miss Daisy. In Driving Miss Daisy, they're playing the wrong way.
Yeah.
And Theresa and I sent her screenshots of it, and she went through her collection of cards, and we figured out what year they used, what card year they used.
The best was in the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, when Joel's mother had been in the hospital, sitting in the hospital waiting for her husband to get well, and Joel's girlfriend, who was Chinese, was there, and she didn't know she was his girlfriend, and she said, "The best part about this hospital is they hire people to play Mahjong with you while you're waiting for your loved one to get better." And
actually, if I scroll back down to Teresa's picture, can you see the woman next to Theresa? Teresa's wearing purple, and then there's a woman, the woman with the red hair, that's Linda Feinstein, and she is actually credited as the Mahjong consultant on that year. Mm-hmm. And not to say that her advice wasn't listened to, but she tried to teach National Mahjong League Mahjong, and I think they just kind of made it a Mahjong scene as opposed to actual playing. But yes, she was hired for that. So, but thank you so much for sharing.
That was great.
And now we are moving to California with Miss Toby. I think if Toby's muted. Okay, no, you're not. Yes, we hear you beautifully.
Hear me? All right. Hi.
Yes.
Let's see.
So Toby teaches in California and has events and beyond. And then Toby, you tell me when you want me to scroll the screen to the next one.
Okay. Let's see. This is a photograph. I think everyone can see it. It's in Gloversville, New York. And it's my family. And there are 3 generations of Mahjong players here. My grandmother and my mother, and I'm the one with the little purse in the front. Oh. And I mean, I'm really lucky because everybody jokes that I heard the tiles in the womb, which I did because everybody in my family played. So if we go to the next image, can you scroll down? Yeah, great.
You see,
so every class I've ever taught, I begin the class with this set. And this set was it's the owl set, which I think most of us would know that it has Chinese bakelite with an owl on the one bam. Thank you. And this was my grandmother's set, and it was bequeathed to my mother, and then it was given to me. And at some point it will go to my goddaughter, who is Chinese, and won't learn Mahjong yet because she doesn't want to be like her parents and me. But at some point I know, she said, I told her she can't have this set unless she learns Mahjong. So, but it's a great set. I never knew that, it was a coveted set. It was simply in my family. And I was so lucky because my family got together, and it was really beautiful because we got together and my grandfather played checkers and my Aunt Rose played Scrabble and Mahjong was happening. And it was just something that we did. I never thought of it as something unusual because it's something I heard for forever in my entire life. And so the next image, please. Let's see. So I wrote inside of this set, the next one, my Aunt Rose's set, I decided to put some information, and it's glued into the set so that wherever it goes in the future, somebody would know that the sets that I have that I run out of the house within a fire are my family's. And that there's, when I first started teaching, I was realizing it was 14 years ago, September, that I started teaching. And I have some really exquisite sets, but the ones I would run out of the burning house with are my family's. And so one day my Aunt Rose was in Florida, and I said, Aunt Rose, are you still playing Mahjong? And she goes, oh no, I'm only playing Scrabble these days. And I said, can I have your Mahjong set? She goes, oh, Toby, you don't want it. It's really old. So it went through a million people, and it traveled to a cousin and then to another cousin and then to another. And finally it wound up in my little paws. And so if we keep going, hopefully we'll see my Aunt Rose's set. This is my Aunt Alice's set.
Oh, shoot.
So
Is this Rose?
oh, no, this is my Aunt Rose's set.
Oh,
Sorry,
what?
this is my Aunt Rose's set. And I believe it's a royal set. And it's in mint condition, and she played like crazy. And I just feel so lucky that I have my family sets. And what happened when I started teaching is it wasn't popular 14 years ago. It just really wasn't in, it just wasn't happening. And I started seeing more and more and more jewelry like I'm wearing now. And the idea of somebody taking my family sets and drilling holes in them was kind of crushing to me. It was really actually upsetting. And we all have orphan tiles, and we all have, anyone who collects has boxes of miscellaneous tiles. And I do. And, that's great to have jewelry out of those or whatever. But I know that people were taking sets like my grandmother's and just, basically dismantling them. So that's why I started collecting, and that's why I started fixing them, and that's why I started completing them and restoring them. And that's where it all sprung from. So I feel really lucky that I have these sets of my family. So the next one, I think, oh, these are the racks. They're gorgeous. They're rich burgundy, just with red stoppers. They look like they were made yesterday, except for the brass, which I'll never probably polish up because I'm not that diligent. But they're just the most beautiful burgundy. So next one. Okay, and this is my Aunt Alice's set. And I never knew for years about the P and all kinds of things. And, when I got these sets, the jokers all had, those old National Mahjong League stickers on them. And I plucked them off and, cleaned them all up. And I play with I've actually had with students of mine or friends of mine, I've had family night, where the only sets that come out are my family's. And it's like the best feeling in the world to know that these sets are still alive. you know, that my family's history is alive and well and being played with and being loved. It's the best feeling. So next one, please. So the racks for these I always kind of hated, and I've changed my ways. I took these wooden racks that I thought were very plain, and I don't know, one day I took some polish to them and I went, wow, these are real wood and they're not painted and they're beautiful, and something switched in me. So they're really, really beautiful when you see them in person, especially. I'm not the best photographer here, but I wanted you to see what came with them. And let's see, next one. This is what I did with stickering some of them. And, you know, every one of them had a better, and the dice, the vintage dice with them. They were absolutely complete because they'd never gone anywhere. They weren't from a store where somebody might have taken them apart, or eBay. So we can move forward. Okay, so this set was an ex-boyfriend's, and he knew I was playing Mahjong, and I hadn't been with him in, oh gosh, 25 years. And he called me one day and said, you know, I know you're teaching and I know you're doing all these different things. And he said, I have a Mahjong set that's been at my family's forever, and it just sits on a table. Would you like it? And I said, yes. So we were talking earlier about people who reach out to you, and people who will give you anything in the Mahjong world. And some of us know Ray Heaton, and Ray Heaton is such a big-hearted man. And I wrote to him in Wales, and Ray will translate tiles or tell you the story. So he took these flowers that you see, and he told me this whole poetry about them that was absolutely beautiful. And there's a set coming up that I thought was very plain, and between Tony Watson and Ray Heaton, they just told me things, you know, as Theresa was saying, things I would never have known. Just wonderful tales about these sets that I wouldn't have known. So this is a bone and bamboo set, and if we keep on going, these are the two boxes from the two sets I'm showing you. And the next set that I'm showing you is from my friend William. And William passed away 2 years ago last week. And when William was alive and well, he had a retreat center. And one weekend I went up there just for the fun of it. It was his birthday, and he said, would you show and talk about Mahjong and teach people? And I had people all around me, and it was really fun. And he said it was one of the highlights of the weekend. And William had this set that, again, he didn't know how to play. It was just sitting on a table. And when William died, it was the only thing I wanted. You know, I just would have meant the world to me. Well, somebody gave the set to some family, and I heard kids were tossing them all around and they didn't know how to play. And I told this one woman that how sad I was, that was my one thing I wanted from William, you know, to kind of keep him in my heart with one object, right? Well, I don't know how she did it, but she lives far away from San Francisco. She went to San Francisco, she got the set, she brought it back to where she lives. It then went back to San Francisco. Then it got left for me in the Gold Country in California. Then it went back to Berkeley. I mean, this poor little set has been all over the place, and now I have it. So recently, Kat Hartman matched the tiles. And Eileen Feldman, who's on our Zoom here today, her name is Opie. She makes stickers, and her niece is going to take over her business and make stickers for all of us who want them. And if you want the information, you'll write to me. And so I just ordered new stickers for this set, and I'm going to bring William's set to life again, which I can't even begin to tell you how happy this makes me. And so I wrote to Ray Heaton, and I wrote to Tony Watson, and I just thought this was kind of an average set. And both of them said that it was pretty unique, and they were telling me things about this set that I never would have even kind of noticed. that the flowers, some of them are really unusual and they didn't know much about them, but one of them has a yin yang, the number 4 has a yin yang on it. And they were saying that this was probably made for somebody as a commission, because there were some really specific things that were different. As we look at the cracks, which I always find the most boring suit, the character is always in red and the numbers are always in blue, and they switched the colors here. And there are all kinds of little things that they were telling me about, that they really thought that somebody commissioned this and asked for some unusual things. And they both loved this set. So it was really exciting to send it off to other people and see what they thought. So this was my friend Williams. So, there's so much I can say that would be repeating a lot of what everybody said. Oh, here's my house in Berkeley. And I don't know what it is, but every single time I put out Mahjong, with no exception, my cats jump on the table and sprawl on the tiles. I think this probably happens. It's like, hello, I'm ready. There it is. She's ready. Emily's ready. So and there's my Aunt Rose's set that you're seeing. So it's really amazing thing for me I had a job at the Sharper Image and I thought I was set, and then the whole company fell apart and I started teaching Mahjong. That's a Cliff Note version. And I never ever thought in my whole life that Mahjong would become for me what it has. It's just as you had said, that in hard times, it can bring us up. It connects us with people. Dee Dee Gallo stayed at my home. I've stayed and, met Gregg's friends in New York. It's just remarkable to me how people open up their hearts to you when you're a Mahjong player. And my students, I start every class with the statement that Mahjong will change your life. And it really does. It really does change your life. And it's always for the better. It always picks you up. It always takes you out of those hard times, however briefly. And, for some of us, for me, it's got a beautiful connection to some friends, that maybe didn't even play Mahjong, and also to my family. So I just feel so grateful because as someone else was saying, it's taken me to Rancho La Puerta in Mexico to teach, and to Arizona to teach, and to Los Angeles and Hawaii. And I feel so lucky to have written a book with Gregg Swain. And for those of you that might like to travel, Gail Friedlander and I are going to have a Mahjong week at Rancho La Puerta. And again, if anybody has any interest at all, you can write me about it. And I just want to say thank you to Dara and Donna for having these Zooms, because every single time I'm invited, I feel like I'm honored, like I just got an award. So thank you very much for doing what you do.
Well, I was telling you earlier on social media, somebody had asked a question about etiquette, and I shared the panel that many of you were already on to talk about etiquette, and it's on our YouTube channel if you want to share. And I just love the comment, and the person wrote, I would absolutely love to play with any of the people on your delightful panel. Like it's such a wonderful, supportive community. So.
And to follow up on what you said, Dara and I both have children in college. And the most amazing thing is that my son's in Nashville. So a Mahjong player reached out to me. If he ever needs to go to a doctor's appointment, if he needs dinner, if you come visit, you can stay with me. I have never met the woman, and she has been incredible. I actually did call her. He needs a suit. Where should he go? And Dara's had the same experience. Her daughter's,
my daughter in LA and in Syracuse. I mean, both locations. I've had people give me recommendations for doctors, restaurants, everything, whatever I need, and all through the connection of Mahjong.
Right.
Yeah. So. I want to add one more thing. I played with one group, for about 35 years. And one of the players, Deborah Lange, is on this Zoom today. And I didn't know her before Mahjong, and she's one of my best friends. And Wendy is also here, and I don't know who else because I can't see everybody right now. But I want to thank the people I know for coming also, because it's really nice to see you.
And thank you very much, Toby. Next up, we have Gregg, who is an author, a co-author with Toby, as well as an author of other books on Mahjong, a collector, a wonderful blog, a Mahjong historian. And we were fortunate enough, right before the world shut down for the pandemic, we were fortunate enough to have Gregg come and join us at 2 events in Boca and one in Miami. And if you are near New York, she's doing one soon in Manhattan, and it's definitely something you want to check out.
Thank you. Well, I'm so excited to be here with you all, and thank you for inviting me. I have to say, I never would have ever imagined what Mahjong would do for my life. I grew up in Manhattan, and, back before air conditioning, people used to set up tables out on the sidewalk in the shade, and I'd see people sitting around the table, and they'd be playing with these mysterious tiles, and I'd hear flowers and dragons, etc. And I really wanted to learn how to play the game. But what really attracted me was at the end of every game, there'd be like these peals of laughter. Everybody was having the world's best time, and I really wanted to learn how to play that game. I didn't learn how to play until 2010. And it absolutely changed my life. I have to say I was really pretty happy sitting around my apartment and reading books, etc. But I went ahead and learned how to play Mahjong. And the friendship that I got from playing the game has just been amazing. I've had all these wonderful new friends, and they even say, that your friends around the Mahjong table can be a support group for you. I actually have a background in clinical psychology, and I agree with everything that everybody has said, but it is amazing how Mahjong really does build communities of friends. And some friends you get to see and play with, but some friends are across the ocean or across a continent, and then you finally get to see them, but you really do feel that they've been your friends for years, because that's just what Mahjong does for people. It is amazing. And of course, it really is one of the best things you could do for your brain, and that's what we all want to do. But it is about the sitting at the table, being with friends, and just focusing on those tiles. You really do forget about literally all your aches and pains and everything else that you're worried about. And I have to say, during the pandemic and during some other times, I really just turned to Mahjong and was able to play with friends. But sometimes if there were no friends, I played with those robots on my phone or on the computer. Thank goodness for these virtual friends that we can have, because Mahjong really does take your mind away from the things that you're worried about. I also wanted to mention the importance of laughter, because that's really what attracted me those many years ago, even though I didn't get to learn for another 50 years or so. But laughter is absolutely fantastic. And we really do make time for laughter in my groups. We can play very seriously, but then a lot of the time we will just go out and have fun. And I just thought I would show you one of these things here, which is we had a birthday celebration, and I had songs for people. I love writing songs for people. And so I sang birthday songs to people, and then we got headgear, and my group is very much into headgear, and we're going to have headgear on again for Halloween. I might have just spoiled my Halloween party headgear, but I actually have something better to wear at Halloween that's more Halloween appropriate. But anyway, we really do try to have time for laughter. We wear yucky dresses sometimes. It's like the bad sweater thing, but I have a really nasty dress I bought from Amazon that's really ugly, and I wear that with great pride at Christmas time. But it's really like the escape and the fun and the socializing that is so important. And I love vintage sets, and most of the time I'm not lucky like Toby is, who really has wonderful vintage sets that belong to her family, and she's such a wonderful custodian of her family and friends' sets. And I don't have all of that, but I am a custodian of many unknown people's sets. Sometimes their name tags are there, and I know that I have a set of jeans, and I have all this feeling about Jean. But I love the old sets because the tiles really have been lifesavers for these people. I mean, I'm turning to real Mahjong and everything else in times of trouble, but Mahjong really can bring people together and help them escape. And so these vintage sets that we have really have helped people in times when they really needed help the most. And that's why I can sometimes even start crying about vintage sets. And those of you who know me know that I really can cry about vintage sets. But, you know, and if you don't have a vintage set, just start creating family, memories of your own with your friends, etc. But these tiles really help us. And Toby used to say that these tiles can be your best friends, and we want to treat them with great respect. But so that's what Mahjong can do for you. You can have like so many more friends or deeper friendships. That's what it's done for me. And somebody else mentioned that, you know, they would never call up somebody and let's sit around for 4 hours and just chat. But my goodness, you start booking a Mahjong game and you've got them, and they might even be there for 5 or 6 hours, and you've had a wonderful afternoon. And if you're ever feeling lonely, go ahead and book a Mahjong game, and it really works. And if you don't know anybody in town, start teaching people. It works, and it's just the most marvelous community building thing that you can do. So anyway, I'm obviously a big advocate about the game, for the game, and it's just so wonderful to be part of this community. And thank you for letting us be part of the Modern Mahjong community and bringing us together on a frequent basis, and it's really appreciated.
And Greg, what's the date? Do you know offhand the date of your event at the Mandarin?
Yes, it's Manhattan Mandarin, which is this little class where they're trying to teach people about Chinese culture and Mandarin. It's November 13th from 3 to 5. They're serving tea. I'll be giving a talk, signing books, and I'll be showing some of my old vintage sets too, so people can see what real old sets look like.
That's wonderful.
I just want to say, I mean, Darren and I both have bought at auctions. We bought on eBay. My mother did not play Mahjong. She thought it was too loud, like clack, clack, clack. So she liked cards, and, you know, so I don't have any sets for my family. But what's fun is when you buy, sometimes people will write a note, like, this was my Aunt Edna's, this was my grandma, you know, and sometimes inside the sets, you'll find handwritten notes. So it's really special to me because I have none for my family. So,
yeah. And we know, I mean, to keep it on a positive level, we know certain friends who covet certain sets, and they're like, okay, this one is reserved for you. You know, we know who gets which sets. So
right.
I have someone's name in one of mine, and mine is in someone else's set. Yep, we're good. Mm-hmm.
I think your cat thinks you're about to play Mahjong.
I have my grandma set, which isn't I can't use it because it doesn't have jokers and it didn't have enough extra tiles, but it lives in a jar on my mantelpiece, and everyone comes and they're like, oh,
well, you could always reach out and get jokers to match to play with it, or you just like having it there.
I like having it there. I have so many other sets, I don't need it, but I know this is my grandmother's set, so it's always out.
It's really nice.
That's beautiful. So I had put that if you have any questions for the panel, you could type in the chat. A lot of people who love to play and maybe are only playing online, if you are looking for your city and your state and you want to join, one thing I think Greg might have just said, someone said, like, then teach other people if they can't play. I think it was Toby's mom on a recording from Annalise Hines, I'm not sure, but years ago, people would literally in the laundromat leave a note, if you want to start a Mahjong game, contact me. So now social media is the new laundromat. So
Yes.
For somebody asked how to get matching jokers, if you go and you could look, there's Theresa has sets, there's someone named Stanley Chris, there's Johnny Levine, there's many of the people on this panel if you want to chime in. They all have, and it's called, I don't know if it's the right word, but like an orphanage of just spare tiles.
Yes.
And what's really important is give as much detail as you can, because if it's bone and bamboo, the color and the ratio, and then if it's Catalan, the color. And one thing that we learned is you can actually darken them, but luckily Theresa warned us that they continue to darken once you take them out of the oven. So be very careful with that. But once you get matching tiles, then there's many people, like you said, Opie's niece is taking over and doing tiles. There's wonderful Joker art out there that are just terrific.
I just want to say a lot of people on our Facebook groups, they call the National Mahjong League to match tiles. They are not doing it anymore since COVID. So please don't call the league and ask for tiles. They will not do it.
So while you guys, if anybody's thinking, we want to thank our panel. As always, it was just our pleasure to have. Somebody just said, how do you find these people? If you're not on social media, if you just want to email us, here, I'll put it in the chat to everyone. If you email us, we could give you email addresses of whoever you want to reach out to. If you are on Facebook, you could write it in our Facebook group. So as always, we really appreciate you taking your time. It's such a generous, I mean, I don't know, Donna and I talk about this all the time. We don't know of that many other hobbies or communities that we could have been able to meet and connect and create such a bond with so many people in such a short time. And we invite you to come visit our website. We just did a visual companion on our Facebook group. A lot of you see our graphics. So people said, can we get them in one place? So we just put them all in one place, and that's on Amazon. We have events coming up. My other hat, I guess I work well with Donna Miller's because I'm teaching a canasta camp with Donna Miller Small, which is a different Donna. We have 2 upcoming tournaments. A lot of people, I know Wendy was just saying, we started our tournaments because, as Greg was saying about socialization, some people during the pandemic, that was their socialization. It was Mahjong. So all of a sudden that came to a screeching halt. So the 2 things we did were have our Zoom talks and do our virtual tournaments. And kind of like Dr. Sarah was saying earlier about getting out and going to Mahjong, my mental health was getting ready for our Wednesday Zooms. Like that literally was the one day that I put on makeup and did my hair and got out of sweatpants and, maybe wore sweatpants, but you couldn't see them. So our tournaments continue, and we have people telling us all the time that people that we paired them with back in 2020, not only are they still playing with weekly, but they've met up and played in person together across the states. So it's just a wonderful connection. Our next tournament starts in November, and we are benefiting the Life Raft group. We always give a percentage of proceeds. And then Donna, you want to tell them about December?
Yeah, so this is our second collaboration with Laura Geller. Laura Geller was a makeup artist, and she is a huge beauty influencer and sells a lot of makeup. But her charity of choice is Cancer and Careers. So they're very gracious. They give a promo code, so there's a discount on the registration fee, and you could win gift cards to laurageller.com and buy makeup. So it's wonderful that they're doing that with us again.
Right. And somebody just asked, where are they? So what we do is we do have events in person as well, but these are virtual. So they're hybrid. So you could play on any website that goes by National Mahjong League rules, or you could play at your home game, and then you write us and we submit your scores and we award prizes from that. So here's information about Canasta, and then here's some of our products, and I will stop my share.
See Scout is there. Hi, Scout.
So we really appreciate everybody for joining us here today. It just shows that whatever topic of Mahjong people think of, there's something that people just find an interest in.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And if you have any topics you want us to do, let us know. Send us an email. We'd be happy to try and do it. So.
And Theresa, you do tile matching as well, right? Not as much. No. Okay.
Well,
more sets. Okay.
I just don't have a lot of tiles. So if someone.
Okay.
So
if you need tile matching and if you're not on social media, just email us and we'll give you email addresses for people that do.
And we may
there are other people that have much larger cachet of tiles than I do, and if you've exhausted them, sometimes I could, like Karen Robertson had tried a bunch of people, and then she happened to, we were just out on the phone, and I said, hey, you got any tiles? And he said she completed. And we completed like 9 sets because it was just like that weird divine intervention of like, how did I have those tiles? So I just have like a weird grouping of tiles that if I have them, great. But I don't have a lot, like some people, like they have every size of Catalan and shade, every size of bone and bamboo and, you know, all that. So, but you never know.
And I just don't want to give out, I mean, I would do it. I just don't want to give out people's email publicly because we're going to share this to YouTube. So just email us and then we'll be happy to share Stanley and Johnny's and whoever else's email.
And, and if, as Theresa said, if you've exhausted every other resource, you can ask us because between the two of us, we have a large collection of time.
Fortunately or unfortunately, whenever we buy vintage sets, there's always a little surprise in them. And actually, I know Greg loves all the one-of sets. I love all the little mysteries. I mean, I got a pencil that said U.S. Senator. Donna got, what was yours? The political.
It was a Mahjong bag, and it was someone running the Democratic Party. It was a senator. And it was
so
great.
all those little bonus items are fun to see. So, well, we hope everybody has a lovely week. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Such fun as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you all virtually.
Nice meeting you.